All right, welcome everybody. I'm Darlene, as many of you already know. I'm the Student Equity Coordinator, and today we're going to talk about our new 2025-2028 Student Equity Plan. Um, let's see, here we go. Okay, so quick question. How familiar are you with our college's Student Equity Plan? And we can just show of hands, not familiar at all, or somewhat familiar. Or if you want to put it in the chat. Janice, yes, very familiar. Okay, Sue, slightly, somewhat. Yeah, all right, good. Okay, we got a good starting basis. So as y'all know, we do a rewrite or a continuation of our previous plans. And so today we're going to talk about this new plan that we're jumping into. But first, I want to briefly share with you all some of the intent behind the student equity plan. And then we're going to cover the background and history, and then go over our current equity planning cycle. And if you have any questions, please feel free to just drop it in the chat. Myself and Janice will be tag teaming this presentation, and we'd like to make it as informative and engaging as possible. Okay, so the purpose of our student equity plan, honestly, is just to close our equity gaps and identify which DI populations are in the data, which one shows up in the data. So when I say our DI populations, I'm talking about the populations once the data has been disaggregated and we look at rates of success based on the 5 metrics in the equity plan, and we compare that to the overall population. Those populations that are not experiencing the same success as the overall population are those that we would consider as a DI population, disproportionately impacted. Also, the intent of the funding is very similar to like the K-12 model of the control funding formula, the local control funding formula. So those folks that have children in the K-12 system, you may have heard of LCAP or that acronym for the K-12 system. So it's very, very similar to that. The chancellor's office also wants us to have more control over the funding. So that's why each campus is required to create their own plan based upon their data and put that money towards the greatest need. Also, this plan is intended to address systemic inequities and foster transformational change. We are not looking for small incremental type things. We want to do large scale changes that can impact student success in a very positive way. And like I said, since this is another iteration of the plan, this is a continuation of the work that we've already been doing. I also want to share with you sort of this framework of how we think about equity. And this is based upon Linton's 2021 work, The Equity Lens. When we think about student equity and how we do this work, it's really sort of in 3 areas that we want to explore, and that's related to our culture, our practice, and the leadership. As y'all know, equity work is not the work of just one person or one office. This is institution-wide work. And so we have to be very holistic when we think about the change work that needs to occur. And within each of these three areas, there are personal strategies, institutional strategies, and professional strategies. Some of you may have heard that the quote, "Culture will eat strategy for breakfast." Has anyone heard that quote before? Maybe so, maybe not. But that quote always sticks with me because we can have the greatest strategy for closing gaps, but if we do not have a culture that supports that work, it's not going to happen. And so we have to think about our institutional culture and where we are with moving forward and thinking outside of the box on things that, have worked in the past or things that we can do better. Equity work is also about reflecting on your own practices. What do you do in your respective area, whether you are in student services or you are teaching? Equity requires you to examine what it is you do in your daily work to support disproportionately impacted students. And then also with leadership, how does our leadership impact this work? How does our institutional leadership impact and support this work? So all of these three areas work together to really move the needle and close those gaps for our most disproportionately impacted students. So a little history about the student equity work in the community college. This is not something that is new. We've been doing this for quite a while. However, it's not until 2014 that we got this large chunk of money to actually do transformative work. But as you can see, this dates back from 1992 up until today. And I was hired in 2015, so I think this is going on my fourth iteration of the plan. And it has evolved. And the work, I think we have really delved deeper into institutional practices that will impact student success. Any questions so far? Okay. If you can remember back in 2015 and 2017, I think most of you were with us. This is back when we had the Basic Skills Initiative, of course, Student Equity and SSSP. We actually, at that time, there were three separate plans. Those are three separate initiatives, and our state chancellor's office wanted us to work together better. And so they created this integrated plan for us. And that really was a mesh between those three initiatives to think about how we can leverage funds and have a greater impact on student equity. Again, this kind of illustrates how that integrated plan worked. And then after that, we have what we now know as the C program. This is the Student Equity and Achievement Program. And this is with support of Guided Pathways. So this is not in addition to, this is really to kind of, I guess, emphasize the work that Guided Pathways is supposed to do for our students. And then thinking about activities and practices that are going to have the greatest impact on student success. So with that, there was no more BSI or SSSP. And Janice, feel free to jump in if you want during any of these slides. So as y'all know, with any mandate, we have some requirements, right? And for our funds, our funding must be used to implement activities and practices supported by our guided pathways work, activities and practices that advance our system-wide goal to eliminate identified equity gaps. And we must maintain this 3-year plan as a condition of receiving funds. It is not only approved by our different constituent groups, but it also must be approved by our Board of Trustees. Now, if y'all don't know where our student equity plan is, it is on our website. This is a requirement of receiving state funds, is that it has to be available for public to see. And we have to identify the goals, the activities, and the populations that we intend to support with this funding. And also the point of contact for our student equity plan. So now we are in this current planning cycle because our 2019-25 plan is sunsetting. No, I'm sorry, 2022-2025 plan is sunsetting. And we are now in the process of gathering all of our constituents to think about this new planning cycle. And here's just a brief timeline of what we have to do. So we recently received the new template that was right before winter break. And right now is like go time, because this semester is the semester where we need to be writing and getting feedback from our various constituent groups and approvals, so that we can submit it to the state chancellor's office by the due date of November 30th of this year.
And Darlene, do we want to touch base that we currently do have a writing team, but we'd like some more, right?
Yeah, and so like Janice said, we do have a very I guess a cross section of members who are part of this equity plan writing team. And I think I do have I actually have a slide on that. But the intent is really for us to work together as a collaborative group, because we all come with different expertise in serving different populations, or directly impacting a specific metric that we are measured upon. And really, I think that's one of the changes for this new equity plan, is to be very intentional about the cross collaboration that needs to take place to create a really good, solid equity plan that isn't just something that's going to sit on the shelf or things that we've done already, but work that is going to be transformational for our campus and our students. So, and like Janice said, we love the fact that you're here so that you understand the purpose of the equity plan, so that when we start circulating this document, you'll all have a true understanding of the purpose behind it. And if those activities are going to serve our students, and then thinking about, how do we measure impact using the funding that we're given. So as a condition and the requirements of this plan, we must identify our DI populations. So each college our college has received the data, and we are going to look at that data to see which group it has been identified as a disproportionately impacted group. And for those groups, we must identify activities within each metric that we're going to do to support closing that gap. Of course, we have to have an assessment and evaluation plan for each of those activities, because we need to know how it's impacting our students. And now I'm going to turn it over to Janice to talk about the data and Data Vista.
As part of the equity plan, the state chancellor's office is asking for colleges to utilize the data set that's going to be provided from the state chancellor. In the past, we have used, I think it's on the next slide, we've used the student success metric launch board, which I don't expect everybody to know about it, but it was a statewide dashboard that was used previously. And now the chancellor's office has invested some resources in redoing a new launch board, or a dashboard really is what it's called, because they wanted something that was a little more intersegmental. So as you guys have heard, we really had to focus these plans on disproportionately impacted students from different populations. And that can look like, for example, we're looking at ethnicity across the board, but is ethnicity, is there a gap between ethnicity with gender? So is there a gap between Hispanic male and Hispanic female, or even Hispanic non-binary, which is another gender area that we've been including, and just see if there's actually intersegmental gaps that we have and that we're seeing. So this new dashboard allows for us to be able to look at it that way. This dashboard is very new. It launched out in November, and the state is currently doing webinars, which I'm hoping to post some of the recordings from the webinar on our intranet for those that are really dying to use this new Data Vista dashboard. It's a lot more interactive. There's a lot more drilling down into the data that you could do in there. But as part of the student equity and achievement plan, we do need to use it. So I am trying to remember. Okay. So with the student equity plan, there are 5 specific metrics that we have to look at. And those 5 metrics that are listed there are very specific to Data Vista. So we have the ability to go into Data Vista and pull just the report that's needed for the equity plan, and we'll be able to view that data. We've also created a dashboard that's available on the internet. Let me see, Darlene, can I share real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna go and do this. Okay, so do you guys see the Data Vista page? Yeah? Okay, I just wanna make sure. I can't see faces, so I wanna be able to see. So this is a new Data Vista page. There's a bee. The bee always freaks me out. I don't know why. Seems like a bug's flying through. But on the Data Vista, we're able to do reports. And then right here is where the student equity and achievement. So this is everything that we could use for the report. And sometimes at a glance, it's easier if we can see it kind of overall like this. So our work group will be able to navigate through this dashboard so that we can kind of see from a visual perspective, where are a lot of those DIs that we have across our metrics, the 5 metrics that we have to report to. And within that, we also need to look at activities, as Darlene has said, when we're writing these plans, if we're noticing, for example, that persistence rate across the board is pretty low, we really want to improve that. But we notice that a certain population is having a lower success rate in persistence, then we start to create activities that would actually help that population and help us with our work as well. So we're going to be listing those activities within the plan, and this is where the writing group comes in. I think that's the last slide, but this is why we were trying to really be creative on who serves on the writing team as part of this work, because we wanted the input of those individuals that might be working with specific student populations more often than other people. So they kind of have some expertise to bring in. I don't know, Darlene, if you want to see anything else on that one.
Uh-oh, sorry. Oh, no, which way?
I don't know.
Sorry about that. Trying to get us back to that slide. Okay, Janice, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, we have these metrics and we may have, we're asking for folks that might have expertise that related to these metrics
Right.
and the DI population.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have successful enrollment, persistence, transfer level, English and math within the first year, degree and certificate completion, and transfer. So with all these metrics, that helped us think about who to invite to the table to be part of the writing team. So this is sort of the strategy approach that we took with leads from areas directly connected to specific metrics. When you think about outreach or transfer, we have those actual offices that do that work. Of course, we've involved our academic senate faculty, and especially those from the math and English department, but we will be having additional faculty members as part of the team as well. Our classified senate representatives, we've included our Office of HSI, and also leads from our affinity groups. We've requested that our tutorial center leads and also a MESA center lead be part of the writing team. And of course, we have to include our students. So student reps from the various identity-centered clubs, such as LSA, our A2Men Club, Safe Space Club, Veterans, First Gen, and ASG. And then those folks who work directly with specific populations, such as DSPNS, the Veterans Office, Basic Needs, Dream Counselor, and our Step Up for foster youth. We've also had a long relationship with our community rep, Dr. Sua Zhang, who has served on our equity committee for many years now. We've asked that he serve as a member of the community to join this writing team because he is very familiar with our campus and our students. And then his work has centered on the needs of Asian American males in higher ed. And Dr. Vega is our VPSS. We'd also like to have him as part of this writing group. So this is how this composition of this team was created. Any questions so far? I don't need a politician for when things are going well. That's kind of the rundown of our equity planning process. Our first meeting is scheduled for this month on the 30th at 2:30 via Zoom. Anything else to add, Janice? Do y'all have any questions?
And just note that the writing team will be working on this through this semester, really. And this will, once we do have a working draft, this will go back through governance review or participatory process. So we'll go through College Council, Academic Senate, and Classified Senate as well. So you'll probably see this if you're a part of those groups. You'll probably see the draft come through in the final version.
And if you have any questions, if they pop up, I'm always here. You can always reach out to me via email or give me a call. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I know it was short. We made it in 30 minutes, so
I'm not gonna whine.
I'm sure the group won't either. So if you want, you can attend another session, but for us, that is the end of our presentation today. I think I see something in the chat. Oh, thank you all.
Many thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, hi, Emma. I better stop recording now, huh?
Yep.